My Girl Life podcast is sponsored by Glamour Boutique. Glamour Boutique is the leading name in cross-dressing fashion and lifestyle with a physical location in New Jersey and, of course, their famous website. Be sure to use your My Girl Life discount code MGL15. And listen, I know they have your best interests at heart, so check them out. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tuck and Tell. Tuck and Tell is a solo video version of My Girl Life podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about the normalization of cross-dressing and transgender. The LGBTQ community has made incredible strides in gaining visibility, rights, and social acceptance. However, as the movement continues to push for broader inclusivity, there may be times when expectations for the non-LGBTQ community have become too high. While the ultimate goal is to have full equality and understanding, it's important to recognize that progress takes time and education. Again, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. Expecting immediate, unwavering support from everyone can sometimes lead to frustration, missed opportunities for productive dialogue, and even division. So this got me thinking about the whole LGBTQ movement and its progress for equality and acceptance, and the idea that perhaps we have normalized cross-dressing, transgender, gender-neutral, pronouns, etc., so much in our own minds that we perhaps project that normalization onto non-LGBTQ people. And this thought is the genesis for this episode. So, first of all, understanding the gap in perspective. For many LGBTQ individuals, their identities and experiences are deeply personal and intrinsic to their everyday lives. Because there is often an expectation that non-LGBTQ people should automatically understand and accept every nuance of gender identity, sexual orientation, and queer experiences. However, for those who have not lived these experiences or have had very little exposure to them, learning and accepting new ideas takes time. Cultural, religious, and generational differences can shape how someone understands LGBTQ identities. Some individuals may have been raised in environments where LGBTQ issues were never discussed or framed negatively. Others may simply be unfamiliar with the complexities of gender and sexuality and need time to adjust their perspectives. This doesn't necessarily mean they are unwilling to accept LGBTQ people. It just means they may require patience, education, and open conversation. Setting more realistic expectations. Rather than expecting instant understanding or complete agreement on all LGBTQ issues, it may be more productive to approach conversations with realistic expectations. Acceptance is often a journey, and people need space to ask questions, make mistakes, and grow. This doesn't mean tolerating outright discrimination or hatred at all, but it does mean understanding that social change happens gradually. I have people ask me all the time, I'm not sure what terms to use when I'm talking to you or your community, and I don't want to offend you. To which I say, the fact that you are concerned about that tells me that you care, and if you use the wrong terminology and it isn't intended to insult me, it's just a matter of not knowing. Also, if and when someone misgenders me, I don't fire back at them and get defensive. To me, it's all about the intent. You can tell when someone is trying to insult you versus making an innocent mistake. If I know they're trying to insult me, then that's a different story. You have to remember, this may be the only time they have interacted with a crossdresser or trans person, and how that goes could cement their perception of the entire community. Instead of demanding immediate comprehension, we can encourage learning through respectful dialogue, accessible education, and storytelling. Personal experiences can be powerful tools for shifting perspectives, but they are best received when shared in an open and non-confrontational way. Encouraging better communication. If the LGBTQ community wants to foster broader acceptance, it must also consider how it communicates with non-LGBTQ individuals. Cancel culture, shaming, the all or nothing approach to allyship can sometimes push potential allies away rather than invite them in. A more effective approach would be to meet people where they are, encourage honest conversations, and allow room for people to evolve. A willingness to listen as well as educate creates an environment where change can happen naturally and sustainability. Ultimately, progress is best achieved when expectations align with reality, right? By fostering patience and understanding, we can help build a more inclusive world, one conversation at a time. And I mean that literally. Let me give you a personal example. My brother is a red-blooded Republican and a Trump supporter. He's a nice guy. I love him and he loves me, but he definitely is a Republican and a Trump supporter. He's also very religious. And without going into detail about how that's driven a wedge in our relationship, I just felt this need to get some things off my chest. Not to change his mind, because that will never happen. But as my brother, I just wanted him to know how I felt about who he supports and how it's affecting Maddie's community. And there were some specific situations I wanted to address as well. And again, I wasn't expecting a great outcome or to change his mind. I just needed to basically get it off my chest. So he listened. It did not turn into an argument. However, his response to the cross-dressing and trans stuff and the LGBTQ stuff was, quote unquote, I don't care what they do with their lives, just don't shove it down my throat. Now, there is absolutely no empathy whatsoever in that statement. But it highlighted what I think a lot of other people who believe what he believes think about the LGBT community. I have therefore shared this sentiment with other non-LGBTQ people, some of who are friends. And while they have more empathy than my brother, they kind of share the same sentiment. So in summary, look, don't get me wrong. It would be wonderful if someday cross-dressing, transgender, gender neutral were to become completely normalized. But until then, I think it behooves us to consider the expectations of the majority population. You know, I sometimes stop and think what's normal to me now was not normal to me before I started dressing and when Maddie was born. And if somebody were to expect me back then to immediately understand and accept what Jim is doing as Maddie, I would have had some reservations and misunderstandings. And quite honestly, probably would have said, that's kind of weird. I probably would have said, that's not for me. Well, fast forward 7 years later, and all of those things I thought might be weird and not for me are completely normalized by me. And I think it's worth at least thinking about this concept and assessing your expectations for the non-LGBTQ population. Anyway, those are my thoughts for the week. Remember, be bold, be kind, be you.